Welcome to Latte Art Basics with Lamar's Go Home. First up, we are going to practice with some water. It's less expensive than practicing with milk, less wasteful than practicing with coffee. And we're going to fill the pitcher 3/4 full with water to simulate steam milk. And we're going to go through the movements of latte art. Learning the movements of latte art is important insofar as you're teaching your body the steps to the dance, right? Anything you do with your hand, you need to practice. Practice makes perfect. Practicing these steps is going to help you be more fluid when it comes time to actually pour. So I've got my pitcher in my right hand, which is my dominant hand, and my cup in my left hand, which is my non-dominant hand. And I'm going to start with step 1, high and slow. To practice this movement, just focus on pouring a pencil's width stream of water to the center of the cup. Your pitcher is about 1 inch away from the top of your cup, and you're just pouring a pencil's width stream of water. You're maintaining that flow rate. So as your pitcher's getting more empty, you're tilting it more forward, so that way your stream isn't stopping and starting or stuttering. When you're done, pour your cup to the side of the pitcher. Get rid of that water back into the pitcher. Maybe have a towel down. You'll notice I spill quite a bit in this video. And then try again. Again, I'm just pouring a pencil's width stream to the center of the cup, and you'll see me going in small circles. We'll talk a little bit more about why this step is important later in the video, but this is the first step for your water practice, just maintaining that constant stream about 1 inch away from the top of your cup. And practice that a few times, see how that treats you, focusing just on maintaining a consistent stream. It's harder than it looks. The next step we're going to practice is step 2, low and fast. Low and fast is where the latte art actually happens. This is where we use the foamy part of our milk to skate across the surface of the espresso, like skipping a stone across water. So the low and fast practice for you is pouring twice as fast as you were before to the center of the cup, so the stream is 2 pencils widths wide. So you're pouring, it's a pretty aggressive pour, and you start out with your cup tilted. As it gets more full, you're straightening your cup out. And that's pretty difficult. And you're really focusing on getting your spout close to the surface of the cup, almost in the cup. Here's a real-time version so you can see about how fast I'm talking. Pretty aggressive pour. So go ahead and practice that a few times, pouring directly to the center of the cup with your cup tilted, twice as fast as you were before, straightening out as it fills, all the way to the top. That's low and fast. Step 2. So step 3 is strike through. You won't actually see a strike through here, but this is an important movement to practice to get to your strike through. And that's going to go up and down while maintaining a constant flow rate. So anytime you're up, you straighten your cup out. Anytime you're down, you tilt your cup towards your pitcher. Up and down is the movement you can practice to help you with your strike through. So practice that up and down a few times, and then we'll get to the actual strike through. So what is a strike through? Well, you're about to see one. It's the very end step of your design. So up and through. That movement there is your strike through. It happens at the end of your pour. You go straight up and across your body in a parallel line, away from where you started pouring. So straight up and then go through, creating a 90-degree angle. It's not up while going forward, it's up and then moving forward. That's an important point. So let's put it all together. Steps 1 through 3. Our old friend high and slow, pouring 1 inch above the cup, about a pencil's width wide, consistent stream. We're just trying to raise the level of the espresso. When the cup's half full, we're going to sink down to our low and fast, about twice as fast. And then when it's full, we pick up and strike through. Again, from a different angle, we are pouring high and slow. When the cup's about half full, we're going to sink down to low and fast, and then pick up and strike through. So that's it, folks. That's the water technique. Practice makes perfect. Practicing these movements you're going to see in the coming video will make a lot more sense when you see it in context with latte art, but this is an easy and cheap way for you to practice. So let's see start to finish what creating latte art looks like, from pulling your shot to steaming milk, because latte art does not taste like anything, as people like to say. And it's true. It's just the cherry on top of a perfectly crafted beverage. It shows that you created something hopefully as beautiful as it is delicious. So first things first, you'll pull your shot of espresso. I'm using Stamp Act coffee. They're based here out of Seattle, Washington. I'm using their old school espresso blend, pretty delicious. And I'm going to use a 1-to-2 ratio. So pretty standard ratio. I have a 17-gram basket. I'm putting 16.7 grams in. And then I'm going to use a scale to weigh my output, which will be about twice as much, around 34 grams of espresso or so. If you're interested in learning more about ratios or anything that I just said, head over to our YouTube channel, La Marzocco Home YouTube channel, and check out the Espresso Basics Live that we did, where I go more in depth into how to create a recipe for your espresso, why it's important, what might taste good. But definitely take the time to dial in your espresso before worrying about latte art, because that is the basis for your beverage. Now we're going to steam some milk. For this demonstration, I'll be using whole milk, homogenized whole milk. You use your hand to test the temperature. I'm shooting for somewhere around 135 to 140 degrees for this. When it gets too hot to touch, I'll go ahead and turn it off. And again, if you're interested in learning more about milk steaming, head to our milk steaming basics class on our YouTube channel. It was a live event that we did a few weeks ago where I go more in depth about how to achieve the right texture and temperature, which again is the only way you're going to get good latte art is if you steam your milk properly. So before you can run, you've got to walk, right? So you've got to pull your good shot of espresso and steam your milk properly. You see here I have microfoam and 135 degrees, which is plenty for a smaller beverage, which I'm going to be pouring about a 6 or 7 ounce drink. So let's pour some latte art. We've done all that work. Let's have some fun. So here we are with the old standard, the heart, a cup full of love. You can see there it is a simple shape, and the strike through is what actually turns it into a heart. Otherwise, it would be called a monk's head, which is a different latte art style. So here we are pouring a heart, and let's go back to our old friend, high and slow. We're just trying to raise the surface of the espresso closer to the top of the cup. When it's halfway full, we sink down to low and fast. And for a heart, you hang out in that one spot the entire time. You pick up and you strike through in that same spot. So for a heart, it's really critical that you drop down to the center when you do low and fast. So here I'm in high and slow again. I'm waiting for that espresso to get halfway up to the surface of the cup, top of the cup. And when it's halfway full, I tilt the cup towards my pitcher, sink down, get my spout nice and close, and then I stay in one spot the entire time, pick straight up from that spot, and then move the spout across for the strike through. The low and fast is how you create your latte art. So here's a real-time pour so you can see the actual speed at which I'm pouring. So it's a little bit faster, right? So I'm high and slow. I'm going to sink down low and fast. It's going to happen pretty fast. I'm picking up and striking through. You may have noticed that when I was in the low and fast, I wiggled just a little bit, which is how you get those lines in your heart. You don't have to wiggle when you do the low and fast. You can just stay strong in one spot. The wiggling for me is just a habit. So low and fast, that's where I'm kind of shaking the pitcher. That's how you get those lines, picking up and striking through. And there you have your heart. So let's try something new. Let's try our tulip. These are my favorite pours. And everything is the same with the exception of this low and fast. That's what we're changing to get a different design, is we're doing different things in the low and fast. And you can see there, it wasn't just one shape I was creating, it was 4 shapes. We call those tiers in tulips, so 4-tiered tulip. So let's see it from this angle. So for my tulip, I'm still going to start out high and slow, but I'm not going to spend as much time in this area. I actually need more space in my cup to make the design, so I'm going to sink down to low and fast a little bit sooner, when my cup is less than half full. And I started by creating a blob like I would with the heart, but then I picked up, moved my spout back, and then went down again. So it's sort of repeating the low and fast movement several times while moving backwards in your cup to create shapes. It's also important to note that I'm not striking through each of my tiers. I'm creating separate blobs and striking through just at the end one time. So let's see that again. High and slow, spending less time here, only making the cup about less than half full, getting my spout nice and close, creating my first layer, pulling up and moving back. Second layer, pulling up and moving back. Third layer, pulling up and moving back. Little fourth one. Here's a fifth one. And now I pick straight up and strike through. It's a common beginner's mistake that I see them try to strike through each of the layers as they're pouring. You only want to do that once. So here's a real time, real speed pour. You can see it's going to happen a lot faster. I'm sinking down. I'm only spending 1, 2, 3, maybe seconds creating the base. And then each successive tier that I create, I'm only spending maybe a second in the low and fast to create the blob. Another beginner's mistake that I see is you'll get fixated on the pretty white foam coming out and you'll hang out in that one spot for too long. And then you run out of room in your cup to be able to create more than 1 or 2 tiers. So it's quick little scooping up, moving back, scooping up, moving back movements of, and that playing with that speed will allow you to create multiple tiers, maybe 20 tiers, maybe 25 tiers, 5 tiers, 6 tiers, 3 tiers, as many tiers in your tulip as you want. But playing with the speed of that low and fast and that scooping back movement, that's how you create a many tiered or a few tiered tulip, is just by adjusting the speed at which you're doing that step. All right. Well, thank you all so much for becoming latte art experts with me. Or maybe not. Maybe you have more questions. But hopefully I answered some of your questions that you had at the start of this video. The other questions that maybe I didn't address or the new ones that popped up while you were watching this, I'm going to be very excited to answer in the Q&A portion of our virtual learning class immediately following this video. So thank you so much for watching. And if I can leave you with just one thing, it's that pouring latte art is fun. So have fun with it. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. You're learning. Learning as an adult is challenging to the ego, to say the least. So the fact that you're putting yourself out there and you're trying something different is huge. So allow yourself a little bit of joy every morning. Practice your latte art. Laugh at the abstract art and celebrate your successes of your hearts and your tulips and your future rosettas and send them to me. I'd love to see them.